Hey everybody, welcome to Real Talks, where we answer real questions about real estate. I have my associate here, Mark Chan, who is gonna fire off some questions for us, yeah?
Piggybacking off of our last video where we were talking about how COVID has impacted the real estate industry, we were talking about how it's a seller's market, how there's so much competition for buyers. So what are some tips or advice that you would give buyers in today's market, or what have you seen that has been working especially well for buyers in this market?
I think the first biggest tip I could give everybody out there is probably just because there's so much activity going on and interest rates are really low, I think the first and foremost thing that anybody should think about is you have to be ready to buy, right? Just because all of this is going on, don't just jump on the boat because everybody else is doing it. I think first and foremost, just you have to be comfortable and ready and wanting to buy real estate. Because, just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean you should do it as well too. The other biggest tip that I would probably say is, make sure you're prepared, especially in a marketplace like this where things are moving like lightning speed. You do want to be really prepared, whether you're financially ready to go. So sit down, talk with a lender. Make sure you sit down and talk with a real estate agent as well too, because every marketplace is different. Of course, here in Los Angeles, the market has just been completely on fire, right? Just scheduling just to get inside a house has just been a difficulty for most people already. So I think those are really key components to being ready when you're buying a property. And then just make sure that you can move real quickly, right? I have a lot of clients still that tell me, well, Kevin, I just want to wait till the weekend to go see houses. And guess what? Weekend comes around, we have 15 offers, no more showings, right? So you have to be ready to go at like a moment's notice. When a property comes out, if we can schedule it, let's get in there as quickly as possible, because we don't know when the next opportunity we'll get. And that could be the house that you really like or really want.
I've noticed that a lot of buyers will be offering concessions to the sellers, whether that's lowering their contingency dates or not taking credits or just buying it as is. What do you say about those situations? Do you think it's good advice for buyers to do that, or are there certain situations where it's still okay and it's appropriate?
I think going back just like maybe one more step before that, when you go out there, make sure you have a really good lender as well too that's completely on top of their game and they can move quickly in today's marketplace. So one, you gotta have an agent that moves quickly. You have to move quickly in a marketplace like this. Your lender has to be quick. I have some lenders that I've seen that can't close deals in like 45 days because they're so backlogged with all of the work. They can't get approval. So like going back to the contingencies, they can't do appraisals, or they can't get their loan contingency completed until 21 or whatever standard on the contract. Those are gonna be big deterrents when a seller's reviewing offers. But going back to like the concessions, it's a very dicey subject. So I'm glad you asked. I would always say it's case by case, right? Removing, let's say, like an appraisal contingency, I think it really depends on how far or how high the price points are pushing. If you're not capable of making up the difference, then I definitely would not recommend something like that. I do think as a buyer, you should be very aggressive with submitting offers. So how sometimes I coach some people is, okay, this is what the comps are coming in at. You might want to increase it just a little bit, because by the time our transaction closes, we might have a couple more comparables that might come into play where it'll bump up the value. Some people don't want to go too high, but just know with the way the marketplace is moving, within a few months, your price is probably going to come up to what it is going to get overbidded to, right? So kind of keep that in mind as well too. But in terms of like concessions, like removing contingencies, I always think you still need to do inspections. Even though a property looks perfect, we still don't know the true, condition of it, right? Because we can only visually see what we can see. I've had new constructions where there's defects, right? We wouldn't know that unless you actually had an inspector go in and do a full inspection on the property. And we're talking about a new build, right? And majority of the homes here in LA, a lot of them are old. They can be from the 1900s all the way up to a brand new house. So it's gonna be something that you should do every single time.
What about when it comes to actually structuring the offer? Is there any tips that you would give buyers, or when they're talking with their real estate agents about that? Or is it something that, you know, the real estate agent should be able to kind of coach them?
Definitely your real estate agent should be able to coach you on that. I always like to find out as much information. I always tell clients there's two ways that I go about it. The first one is even before we go see the property, I try to figure out as much information about the seller, what their situation is there an offer deadline date? I try to get all of that information so I can give to the buyer when we're there to look at the property. And then when it gets time to submit an offer, I go back to the agents again. How many offers are we working with, right? Do you have 3 offers? Do you have 10 offers, right? Because that might make a difference. For me, if I'm like on the listing side, I see 10 offers, I don't want to necessarily counter all 10. I mean, I think majority of the time there should be some counters going back out. So I usually try to coach them, let's try to get into the top 3 or 4, right? Because if you're not in the top 3 or 4, we may not have a chance, right? And then of course, you know, what type of offers are we competing with? Are they all cash offers? Are they finance offers? If they are finance, what kind of finance? Are they, you know, FHA? Are they VA? Are they 5%, 10%, 20%, 40%? I do that because then I know what my clients are capable of, how much they're putting down. I'm basically stacking myself against the competition. Do we have any leverage? Do we have any pros of why the seller should choose our offer over another offer? I think those are those little things that I look at whenever we're representing clients.
Yeah, I think that is a point that you've always brought up is when we're presenting offers, it's almost like we're presenting our case,
correct,
right? And so our ability as agents to kind of create that case for the client to kind of prove to the sellers like, hey, this is the best offer, whether that, you know, it's taking into account so many things, not just the number, but like the terms of the actual contract as well as you know, just making sure that the finances are in check. You brought up the lender, so having a really good lender that we sometimes have our lenders call the listing agents directly. So all those things are super important to kind of just build that case and put the best foot forward.
Correct. We're looking for any little advantage that we can have to make ourselves either stand apart or just give us some leverage to get the deal for our clients, right? But it is case by case, so that's why it's like, I'd rather have information overload than go into something completely blind and in the dark, where it's like you're just submitting an offer and you're just kind of praying, right? I feel like you have to work to try to get deals done for your clients, so it just baffles me. Like when I'm on the other side, when we're working with sellers and I see offers just come through the table, it's like agent just hits email send button. It's like they don't call me, they don't talk to me. It's like I have no idea who your client is. You're not even vouching for them. So yeah, I think that's something to always consider and think about as well too.
Finding a good agent is what I'm realizing is like the critical component to like navigating this market.
The spectrum of agents is very far and wide, I would probably say, so yeah.
But I mean, it's representation at the end of the day, right? Like any service that you're gonna get from someone, you want that person to represent you well.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna go find a lawyer, you want that lawyer to represent you well and to build the best case. So I think real estate agent is like almost
Same
essentially
exact. That's one of the biggest things that we always stress, right? Yeah. I mean, there's tons of agents. Just make sure you choose the right agent for you. Hopefully you found this segment useful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. We're here to help answer any questions that you guys have as you navigate through this process.